It's Rivalry Week, Hawkeye fans, and if Iowa plays anything like it did against Michigan State, that long winning streak in Lincoln since 2011 is in real danger.
You are Locked On Hawkeyes, your daily podcast on the Iowa Hawkeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, welcome in. I'm Trent Condon, and this is the Locked On Hawkeyes podcast. Thanks for making Locked On Hawkeyes your first listen every day. I've been covering the Hawkeyes for over 20 years on the radio, including currently on the Iowa Sports Radio Network. You can hear me on stations across the state, including Des Moines, Sioux City, Iowa City, Cedar Rapids, and the Quad Cities. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Well, you can tell today my voice is a little bit rough. We're coming out the heels of the state championships in Iowa high school football, and it seems like every year catch a little cold after that one. So we're going to persevere. What we got coming up for you today, though, a little bit different. We're going to hear from Eliot Cluff. He normally joins us on Tuesday, a recap of what he heard from the Iowa press conferences. We will do that with you. Also going to get the Nebraska perspective. On my radio show earlier, had Stephen M Sipple. He's been on the Nebraska beat for over 30 years. He is going to join us, and we'll get his perspective from the Nebraska side as we get ready for this rivalry game. And let's get into it and talk a little bit about what Kirk Ferentz had to say and some of the players over in Iowa City. Rivalry week, always important. Quick turnaround, obviously, with it being on Black Friday. That means one less day to prepare. And the good news, historically for Iowa, is that hasn't been an issue. Not only looking at what Iowa has done in this game against Nebraska and how they have dominated this rivalry as of late, winning 9 of the last 10 games, but you also look at those other Friday games that they played in the past, and for the most part, how well they played in those quick turnarounds. And it really shouldn't come as a surprise. Iowa, the way that they're built, the way that they play, the structure that Iowa has under Kirk Ferentz, that you can understand why they kind of have a game plan, they have a blueprint, they follow it, and why time after time after time, they look good to go. You know, one of the few instances that hasn't gone well on a Friday was a year ago against UCLA. And remember, even in that game, they jumped out to an early lead before another injury at the quarterback position. Sullivan got knocked out, and there they were. But we're going to do that as we kind of battle through, got some perspectives coming up. You know, this matchup against Nebraska, one of the first things that Kirk was talking about when he was talking about the team that really jumped out to me today is he talked quite a bit about their special teams. And special teams for Nebraska certainly has not been a strength over the last decade plus. They've had some terrible kicking. Iowa has made plays in that one. This year, it's taken a step forward. Their kicker, 13-16 on field goals this year, has hit one from 50 yards, a 52-yarder, hasn't missed an extra point this year. But maybe even more importantly is their return game has taken a big step forward, and they have improved immensely on that side. We talk about it a ton here every day, as you know, for Iowa football. What they have to do is they have to win in other areas. It can't just be strictly offense, defense. Special teams are such a huge component. You go back to a week ago. Obviously, the performance by Kaden Wetjen, Big Ten Special Teams Player of the Week, named a finalist for the Jet Award, and he should win that for the second consecutive year for the top kick returner in all of college football. And with that, Nebraska, Iowa, the advantage usually is there. Thought that was interesting. And also the question came up a couple of different times about TJ Lateef, their new quarterback, who comes in for Dylan Raiola after Raiola was lost in the game a couple of weeks ago. He's gone in there, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions at this point, has been sacked just 3 times, but also what he is as a runner. Pretty dynamic in the run game, and obviously a completely different quarterback than what you have in Raiola, and what they're going to have to do to combat an athletic quarterback, a running quarterback, and TJ Lateef. You do wonder, and we've talked about a ton this year, Iowa applying more pressure, if this is going to be a game from early on. Not where Phil Parker, the defensive coordinator for the Hawkeyes, sits back and waits, kind of gets a read on things, and then makes the adjustments at halftime. If right away Iowa comes out of the blocks very heavy in the blitz personnel, very aggressive on that side of things. I think that could be C1 that you definitely see. Speaking of that, another big conversation is the injuries. Hayden Large was able to go out there and practice so far this week. Same for TJ Hall. Getting TJ Hall, absolutely huge to get him back out there. What he can do as a defensive back, he's your top cover corner. Hunter, really good wide receiver for them. that would be a big one. Large just helping out with blocking. This thing seems destined for another one that comes down to the end. Another late field goal very well could prove the difference in this football game. I think that's how we're trending in this game. Another component in Nebraska is Emmett Johnson, their running back. And Johnson averaging 5.5 yards per carry. Not a huge guy by any means, but he's been really good throughout the course of this season. Over 1,200 yards on the ground, 11 touchdowns. What I was going to be able to do up front, you go back to that Oregon game where they were just gashed up and down the field. And Johnson now combined with the running quarterback in Lateef, what that means for this Iowa rush defense that at times certainly hasn't been sterling throughout the course of this one. Looks like it's going to be this. Iowa wins, Nebraska wins. Whoever wins this game, you're going to Florida. You're going to Tampa, you're going to the Outback Bowl. Now, I know things can change, and it also is going to depend on what happens with the college football playoff and the way that plays out. But very simply, winner of this game, I would say probably 90% that they're going to make their way to Tampa. I don't believe Nebraska's ever played in the Outback Bowl. Now, of course, they haven't been in the Big Ten nearly as long as Iowa, and the connection that Iowa's had to that football game. And probably the likelihood is the loser of this game is going to get shipped out to Vegas and play in the Vegas Bowl. That one's on December 31st. So that's kind of what's on the line of this one. A Florida bowl game, a January 1st bowl game. Winner will go to 8-4. Loser will drop to 7-5. As the voices struggle a little bit, let's hear from some more voices. Eliot Cluff was in Iowa City today for the press conferences. We'll hear from him. Plus, a look at the Nebraska perspective. Stephen M Sipple is going to join us as well from On3, HuskerIllustrated.com. A look at the Hawkeyes, a look at the Huskers with you today. This is Locked On Hawkeyes. Well, the holiday season is right around the corner, and that means it's time to get your home ready. Whether you need more seating for guests, cozy new liners, or fun serveware for holiday hosting, Wayfair's Black Friday sale is here to help you make your space shine. The best part, you don't have to wait. Wayfair's Black Friday deals are happening all month long with up to 70% off everything from sofas to spatulas. I absolutely love having family come to our place and celebrate there. But a lot of times family means you need a little bit extra. We had an extra bed downstairs, but you know what? We needed to spruce it up a little bit. We got new linens from Wayfair, absolutely a game changer, and even made my mom happy having to sleep in the spare bedroom. If you ever hosted family holidays, you know what a difference a few new touches can make. Wayfair makes that easy. Don't miss out on early Black Friday deals. Head to Wayfair.com now to shop Wayfair's Black Friday sale and up to 70% off. That's Wayfair, Wayfair.com. Sale ends December 7th.
Elliot Cluff covers Iowa, HawkeyeInsider.com, and he joins the program. Good to speak with you. Elliot, how are you? Happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving, guys. Good. I'm hanging in there before quite a bit of travel this weekend, and doing the job and heading to the Quad Cities, and then Ida Grove, and then Lincoln, and Council Bluffs for a prep red zone event, and then back to Cedar Rapids. So quite a weekend ahead.
A lot of windshield time, no doubt about it. I thought that I didn't hear the whole post-game press conference. I heard, obviously, Kirk recognizing Michael Loss, which wasn't a surprise knowing Kirk. He's a classy dude. And not surprised that he, called out one of the old-timers on the beat that unfortunately is going to lose his gig. So, but that aside, I thought your question about the 2002 Purdue-Iowa game certainly drew some laughs in the room and caused the head coach to have a chuckle in his own right. Why don't you reset that scene, if you would? I thought that was really good.
Sure. So, throughout the whole game, you guys might have seen some of my tweets or something in the story, but that game felt like 2023 Iowa in the worst way without elite punting. And I had mentioned that to David Eichholt, who was sitting next to me on Twitter, all that. But Kirk had said that Raymond Braithwaite mentioned it on the sideline and said, man, that felt like 2002. I just followed up by saying, I know you mentioned 2002. I was 6 at the time. So I would say it reminded me of 2023. What do you think about that? That was pretty much that. And Kirk always appreciates being reminded how old he is.
You know what he's got, though? He's got a remarkable memory. It never ceases to amaze me. His recall of games, of circumstances. I'm sure he doesn't get them all right, and something might slip by him. but boy, not very many, Elliot.
No. I mean, we have basically a running a bit within the media that there's at least one or two 1980s references per Kirk Ferentz press conference. So yeah, his recall, he's clearly been working on it for a while. He remembers stuff like that just about every week. So yeah, that's his shtick for sure.
Quick turnaround, obviously, with the Black Friday game. Iowa has been normally pretty good in these spots, historically, not just against Nebraska. They won 9 of the last
10, is that what I saw?
Yeah, haven't lost in Lincoln since 2011. I mean, they have this down. I think it shows you a lot about Kirk. Same thing this week for you guys. Everything the same. Everything going to be the same inside the locker room. And coming on the heels of, I think, overall a disappointing effort against Michigan State, you think we're going to see a different team out there on Friday?
That's a good question. You know, from everything that I've learned in, the short amount of time about Nebraska is that they don't have a particularly good run defense. Obviously, JT Lateef is it TJ? Lateef, their quarterback.
Yep.
Yeah, is in a different sort of situation in that he's young and taking over for Dylan Raiola. But, yeah, I'm not sure. This game is always weird, right? I mean, something happens, something's weird. Somebody forces a turnover. Somebody can't score. It's really cold. There's a possibility of snow this weekend. And so I decided 40% on the Apple weather app. So that might not be fully accurate. And we're obviously a few days out. But, I mean, there's always something crazy that happens in this game. Do I think that we'll see a different team? That's there's a few days, different ways to take that, I suppose. I don't think that effort will be in question. Obviously, it's going to be different because this game is just intense in terms of the rivalry. So I would say the game might be different. Do we see a different team? I don't know about that.
Yeah, look, you're right. Nebraska's they still, and we've been talking to Sipple for years about this. When they first came into the Big Ten, Sipple's main concern was, are they ready for the physicality in the trenches? Both lines, is Nebraska prepared for that? And to this day, I don't think that they've caught up. They've got a really good running back. I'm sure you've seen Emmett Johnson, or you've seen what he's done this year. Lateef's first game was okay against a mediocre UCLA team, and then Penn State exposed them. But as you said, Elliot, and Trent said repeatedly throughout, this is a field goal game. Every time this game comes down to a field goal. So we shall see. When the depth chart came out yesterday, Elliot, anything that caught your attention that was different that maybe you weren't expecting?
Maybe not that I wasn't expecting, but not seeing TJ Hall again on there was probably a little concerning. Obviously, again, Lateef, not the greatest passer in the world, but I would love to pronounce the Michigan State's last name, the quarterback's last name. It was, I can't even say it, but he wasn't known to be this great passer either, and he looked pretty damn good against the Hawkeyes in certain plays. So that's something that definitely caught my eye. We'll ask about Kirk about that. We got the presser actually moved up to 1:30, so it's a good thing we're talking at 12:45 here. But we'll see on that. Obviously, Hayden Large not on the depth chart as well, so we'll see. And I don't know that Hayden will have a massive impact on the game. He is a walk-on tight end, of course, but he did jump into that starting lineup, especially without Addison Ostrenga for the majority of the season. So, Lou, he's kind of your energy guy too, right? I mean, we've seen the videos of him hyping up the team before the game, and he's a pretty good blocker for the most part, and he's got a few passes this year. So those are the two things that stood out the most. Other than that, 5 running backs on the depth chart again, which that happened a little while ago. All offensive linemen, the starters, are available, it seems. So that's good. Obviously, none of them went out last week against Michigan State, but a lot of them have been dealing with injuries throughout the year. So availability, that's the number one thing.
Quick tonight, men's basketball team, their first major test against Ole Miss. About 20 seconds left with you, Elliot. Quick thought on that one.
It'll be interesting. I mean, I think you got 2 certified basketball psychos in Ben McCollum and Chris Beard. It'll be the first test of the season for the Hawks against, they played Xavier, of course, the Power 4, a high major team. But Ole Miss, there's some talent there. Keza Giffa, a guy that Iowa wanted out of the portal at least for a brief time, and now he's with the Rebels. So, interesting game tonight.
Elliot Cluff, HawkeyeInsider.com. Elliot, the drive safe throughout your journey, and we will talk to you next week. Thanks for jumping on, Elliot. Appreciate it.
Yep. Thanks, guys.
Good to talk to you. HawkeyeInsider.com for Elliot Cluff as we talk Hawkeyes.
Speaking of that matchup against Ole Miss, and thanks as always to Elliot for his time, we will have a rapid reaction podcast coming up for you late here this evening into Wednesday morning after Iowa finishes off against Ole Miss. Hawkeyes currently at FanDuel, a 4.5-point favorite in that one. Looking forward to putting the first big test for Iowa basketball. We thought maybe Xavier was going to be that. Wasn't the case here. It is a step up, a very athletic Ole Miss team averaging over 8 blocks per game. We'll see inside what I was going to be able to do against them. And the point guard matchup, as Elliot just mentioned, should be a fun one here this evening. Then they'll move on. They'll take on either Utah or Grand Canyon then in their second game out there in Palm Springs. We continue Locked On Hawkeyes. We got the Hawkeye perspective. Let's take a look at the other side. Stephen M Sipple. He's been covering the Corn Huskers for over 30 years. Poor guy. He will join us on the other side. We'll get his perspective. Iowa, Nebraska, what it means, and he'll tell us just how important this game is for Nebraska. We'll do that as we continue Locked On Hawkeyes. College football, well, it's wrapping up, but still couldn't be more excited for the games. It is rivalry week. We got Iowa, Nebraska, but so many great games happening across the country. There's nothing like college football, but actually getting tickets can feel more of a battle than the game itself. Endless queues, hidden fees, prices jumping at checkout. That's why I use Game Time. It's the app that gives the advantage back to fans. The easiest way to score last-minute tickets at the best prices with no surprise fees. What you see is what you pay. Pull up the Game Time app right now. You can find great tickets for Iowa, Nebraska. You're making your way over there. Maybe you're like me, have to go to Western Iowa for Thanksgiving. How about that? Hop, skip, and a jump over to Lincoln, and you are good to go. The app is super easy to use. You've only been there. I've only been to Nebraska a couple of different times. Know exactly where your seat's going to be. They'll give you full panoramic views from your seat of what you're going to see. But the best part of the Game Time app, no surprise fees. Love that. What you see is what you pay. Take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, promo code LOCKEDONCollege. LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today.
Let's head to Lincoln. The Hawks will head to Lincoln, take on Nebraska. It's 11 o'clock in the morning. CBS has the TV. If you're not in front of a TV, you can flip it over to News Radio 1040 WHO, the home of the Hawks. Let's get Stephen M in here. Sip, good to talk to you. Happy Thanksgiving to you and yours. How are you, Stephen M?
Oh, it's good. How are you guys doing?
Doing pretty well. Doing okay. So I want to go back before we look forward to this game. The Penn State game obviously didn't go their way. I know that the players and the coaches really didn't want to talk much about it with the short week, etc. Wanted to very quickly move on. I got the sense, though, Sip, correct me if I'm wrong, that Rhule thought and wasn't too pleased that his team was maybe out-physicaled and got pushed around, and maybe sent that message to his team that they were pushed around and should be embarrassed. I mean, I'm not sure. Is that over the top? Was that kind of the takeaway from post-game Penn State?
Kenny, not really. I mean, it was I think you got the first part of it right. They just wanted to move on. I mean, it kind of, here's what I guess the way I'd put it is this. I mean, he didn't have to tell his guys that that's what happened.
True. Yeah.
Yeah. They know.
Yeah.
They were getting. It was. No, it wasn't. I don't think he had to say much about it to his guys. It was a bludgeoning, and it's kind of weird. It's kind of a weird dynamic. Everybody just kind of was like, okay, that happened. We got to move on. That's what was most striking to me. There's a great headline in the Omaha World-Herald. Usually it was something along the lines of teams usually have a 24-hour rule. Rhule had a 24-minute rule. Like he just came to the post game and said, basically, look, that happened, but we got to turn our full attention to Iowa. So it was kind of odd. It was very odd.
Flush that one, move on, and get ready for this one that has not gone Nebraska's way very often. Iowa hasn't lost in Lincoln since 2011, won 9 of the last 10. And Iowa comes in, okay, bad performance for 3 quarters last week against Michigan State. Find a way to get the win against a winless team in the conference. Kind of feels like one of those games where, I don't know, fan bases sometimes have a lot of bravado. This week, don't see a lot of it on either side. Both teams, both fan bases maybe a little bit upset with their squads going into the matchup.
Yeah, definitely over here.
Yeah.
37-10. I mean, it's an odd sort of conversation. The conversations over here become odd. I mean, at this point in my life, I basically need a psychiatrist to deal with it. I mean, you'll hear people say things like, Sipple, what did you expect against Penn State? Of course, Nebraska lost big. I'm like, Penn State was 4-6. I mean, this is what it's become. You can't beat Penn State. Sipple, Penn State has incredible talent. I hear a lot of that. Penn State Sipple has incredible talent. Really? Then why did they lose to UCLA with incredible talent and Northwestern? Yeah, I mean, they pushed Indiana, but in college football, there's peaks and valleys. Teams rise up. It gets odd over here. Now over here, there's not bravado. There's mostly consternation. I don't know that I've heard no bravado this week. It's mostly consternation mixed with, the very, the program loyalists doing their best to say everything's okay, and maybe it is. Here's the bottom line, guys. It's a monster game for Matt Rhule. Monster. Yeah. It would be his biggest win here. I mean, now put that in perspective. I know it sounds kind of weird to you, but that's kind of where we're at over here. It would be his biggest win, and if he's going to keep selling the notion of progress, this is the sort of win he needs because he hasn't had it. His best win this year was Cincinnati, which, by the way, I think lost 3 straight. Mm-hmm. And if it's not Cincinnati, it was Northwestern. So you see what the deal is here.
Yeah, it just became bowl eligible.
Yeah, he needs this bad. Interesting.
Step, well, we thought, we kept hoping that, one of these years when these two teams are going to play, it's, for a Big Ten berth or at the time, to win their division, if you will, whether it be leaders or legends. But now it seems like the thing we're playing for this year is the winner's going to go to Florida and the loser's going to go to Las Vegas. That's how we see it over here. Is that how you guys have been looking at this, or does it even cross your radar?
Oh God, yes, it crosses our radar. Yeah, that's a big part of it. I mean, that would be. See, I always talk about. I think everybody does this. It covers a team. You're looking for discernible progress, right? Tangible progress in a program. You just. There's so much discussion. You get the wool pulled over your eyes and all of that. But I'll tell you what, it would be discernible progress for Nebraska to play in the Pinstripe Bowl one year and then play in Tampa the next. That you could point to that and say, okay, yeah, that's progress. That's progress. I mean, it's some of that is it's a perception thing, but it's pretty tangible. So. I don't know. It's gigantic. I mean, hey guys, over here now, I mean, the media, at least, and fans, they would regard this as a monster win for Nebraska. They would. That's kind of where we're at over here. I think that the program, hey, now listen, the players and coaches are of that mind too. I mean, you can kind of hear what they say publicly, but privately, it is the case. Over here, they want this bad. I mean, they need it bad. So I'll be interested to see what it looks like on Friday.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
So do they plan on shaking hands, or are they going to be fake tough guys like they were last year?
Trent.
Yeah. What?
Trent.
What?
I just went straight to a base question. I don't know. I don't know. I think there'll be sportsmanship as much as you can expect. Listen, it's a rivalry. People can can debate that all they want.
I think it's great.
Yeah.
This is the rivalry.
No, I'm with you. I think it's great. No doubt about that. The Heroes game, the recipient from Nebraska went into their portion of the Heroes Trophy went into a burning house fire or something. Do I have that right?
It wasn't that a long time ago.
I don't know. I think somebody from Columbus, I know, is Nebraska. Well, regardless of the circumstances, they're going to award somebody from the state of Nebraska, the state of Iowa, for recognition for some heroic endeavor this past year. So whether, regardless of what it was, I love the fact that that's behind what this game means.
Sure. Yeah, and I don't know. I thought that was the original story that someone went into a birth. Maybe that just happened. Obviously don't know. But yeah, I like it. Just know this, that trophy, I've seen it hoisted by players. And I saw it hoisted in Nebraska by Nebraska players in Iowa City a couple of years ago. And it was a monster deal to Nebraska for those guys to go in there to Kinnick and raise that thing over their heads and parade around with it. It's big. I've seen Iowa do it over here in Lincoln, and I saw the looks on the faces of those kids. This is a big deal to them.
Yeah.
So I love it. This is big. I don't know how many Iowa fans will make their way over here. That "Let's Go Hawks" chant is one of the. I gotta always be careful how I phrase it over here. I don't want to sound like I'm a fan of Iowa, but I do appreciate the bloodthirsty nature of that chant. Like it's blood curdling. It freaks me out sometimes when I hear it.
What kind of effort did Lateef have last week? Obviously, a lot of folks excited after the UCLA game, but the water got a lot deeper. Obviously, what you call it, Croatia, Happy Valley last week. What would you say about Lateef's game last week? And does he take a step forward off of that? And obviously he would need to. But what did you think of the freshman quarterback last week?
Well, anytime you go into a foreign land and it's cold and you don't, it's unrecognizable to you. It's hard, and it couldn't have been easy for him. Now the weather was good. That's the thing. It was no wind, and you didn't necessarily need a jacket, which was odd. But yeah, that's a tough place to play. I can't stand going there. I don't understand why anybody would live there, but I do respect that just the sheer magnitude of playing there. And it surely wasn't easy for a freshman, a true freshman, but he was not wide-eyed. He played fine. I think he's 21 of 37 for 180 yards. They only asked him to run it on designed runs twice. And he scrambled 5 times, got some yards. You'll like him. He's good. He's a good little player. No, he's not really 6'1", 210, I think. I don't know. Can he do this? Can he orchestrate this type of win? He's a young kid. I don't know. But what he will do is take off and run like a running back. So you guys haven't seen that from Raiola, but you'll see that on Friday.
Good stuff, Stephen M. Enjoy Thanksgiving. Appreciate you doing this. Good news. You get to stay home and eat the bird. You don't have to travel over to Iowa City this year. That'll be next. Home game in Lincoln this weekend for the Huskers. Happy Thanksgiving, pal. Appreciate what you've done for us.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, guys. Happy Thanksgiving to you.
Good to talk to you. Stephen M Sipple, Husker Illustrated, part of On3 Media.
Thanks, as always, to Stephen M for joining us in a great conversation, getting you a good perspective of Nebraska and just how important this is. Thanks for being with us and making Locked On Hawkeyes your first listen every day. We are your daily Iowa Hawkeye podcast, and thanks to our everydayers. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you hit subscribe. If you're listening on the podcast side, 5-star reviews, all that helps us get in front of more fans. Locked On now, the #1 sports podcast network. Thanks for being with us. We'll be back with you with a rapid reaction after Iowa, Ole Miss, and hoops tonight. Thanks for being with us. We'll talk to you then.